Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alison LaGrange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to skip Russia's Victory Day celebrations on the 9th of May. The Victory Day marks the 80th anniversary of the victory over Nazi Germany in World War II. The United Arab Emirates says that it foiled a weapons shipment intended for the Sudanese army, which has accused the Gulf state of backing rival paramilitaries in the country's two-year war. India's Supreme Court rules that digital access is a fundamental right and the state must ensure digital accessibility for everyone, including those from rural areas and the society's marginalised sections. Over 4 million Australians cast early ballots in the country's federal elections ahead of the 3rd of May voting day, as Prime Minister Anthony Albanese-led Labour Party seeks re-election. And Vietnam's top leader hails the country's victory of justice as the Southeast Asian nation marked the 50th anniversary of the end of its war with the US. Hello and welcome. We begin with the latest from the Indian subcontinent. As India weighs a potential military response to the Pakistan-sponsored Pahalgam terrorist attack, capital New Delhi is witnessing fast-paced developments toward what is being reported as imminent retaliation against the last week's terror attack. Earlier today, for the second time since the 22nd of April Pahalgam attack, Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a meeting of Cabinet Committee on Security. The top decision-making committee on national security reportedly discussed India's potential response to Pakistan-sponsored terrorism after Pahalgam terror attack. Prior to that, Prime Minister Modi met with the top Indian military brass, which included the chiefs of all of the armed forces, Chief of Defence Staff, as well as the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. Prime Minister reportedly said the country's armed forces have complete operational freedom to decide on the mode, target and timing of their response to the Pahalgam attack. Prime Minister Modi, while reposing complete faith and confidence in the professional abilities of the armed forces, vowed to deliver a crushing blow to terrorism. Shortly after that, the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres dialed Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. The two agreed on the importance of accountability. Jaishankar repeated that India is resolved to ensure the perpetrators, planners and backers of the Pahalgam terror attack are brought to justice. As Prime Minister Modi met Indian Armed Force chiefs and External Affairs Minister repeated India's resolve to defeat Pakistan-backed terror, a fresh wave of panic gripped Islamabad. A little after 3 a.m. on Wednesday morning, Pakistan's Information Minister, Ataullah Tarar, published a video on social media platform X. The Pakistani minister claimed Islamabad has, quote-unquote, credible intelligence that India intends to carry out military action against Pakistan in the next 24 to 36 hours. Even as Pakistan feared the scale of Indian retaliation, Islamabad continues to downplay the Pahalgam terror attack, in which terrorists brazenly shot down unarmed civilians. The Pakistani minister called it an incident. Listen in.
Pakistan has credible intelligence that India intends carrying out military action against Pakistan in the next 24 to 36 hours on the pretext of baseless and concocted allegations of involvement in the Pahalgam incident.
As the Indian subcontinent remains on edge due to Pakistan-sponsored cross-border terrorism, all eyes remain on New Delhi's next move, with India asserting a firm stance and Pakistan in panic mode? This remains a developing story, and we will keep you updated. And moving to Israel now, where Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's wife Sarah's hot mic moment has caught the families of hostages still remaining in Gaza off guard, stirring up controversy. During a public meeting on Israeli holiday torchbearers on Monday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that up to 24 hostages were believed to be alive. However, his wife, Sarah Netanyahu, who was seated right next to him, was overheard on a live microphone correcting him, saying fewer. Netanyahu quickly responded to this, reiterating that he said up to 24 are living. This brief exchange between Netanyahu and his wife Sarah has sent shockwaves through the families of the remaining hostages, who are now demanding to be told what the government knows about the fate of their loved ones. As per the Israeli government, out of the hostages initially taken by Hamas, 196 have been returned, with 147 of those alive. Currently, 59 hostages remain in Gaza. For weeks, Israeli officials have publicly stated they believe up to 24 of these hostages are still alive. However, Sarah Netanyahu's interjection suggests that the Israeli government may possess information indicating that some of these 24 hostages have died. Israeli officials told the media last week that there are grave concerns about 3 of the hostages, but would not say whether Israel knows for certain that they are dead. For months, Israeli officials used the same language to refer to the hostages Shiri Bibas and her 2 children, whose bodies were returned in the most recent ceasefire. Now, following Sarah Netanyahu's brief yet shocking interjection, the Hostages and Missing Families Forum has reacted with outrage, accusing the Netanyahus of sowing indescribable panic among families already living in a state of agonizing uncertainty. The families are now demanding full disclosure of any new intelligence with regards to their loved ones. Adding to the emotional turmoil, Einav Zangokar, the mother of the hostage Matan Zangokar, has publicly questioned why the Prime Minister's wife has access to information that families are denied. She directly asked Sarah Netanyahu if her son is alive or if he has been killed in captivity, placing blame on the Prime Minister's handling of the war. This incident raises critical questions about the level of transparency and communication between the Israeli government and the families of the hostages. The implications of Sarah Netanyahu's statement are profound, suggesting the possibility of further tragic losses. It remains to be seen how the Netanyahu-led government responds to this controversy in the coming days. Let us now shift the spotlight to China, the world's second-largest economy. Its manufacturing sector is reeling under pressure, and that is all thanks to the trade policies under US President Donald Trump. Factory activity in China contracted at the fastest pace in 16 months in April. The official Purchasing Managers Index, or the PMI, dropped to 49.0 from 50.5 in March. That's the weakest reading since December of 2023. Now, to give some context, the PMI is a key barometer of manufacturing health. It tracks business conditions like output, new orders, and employment. A score above 50 means growth, below 50 signals a slowdown, and China's April reading clearly points to a decline. The sharp drop comes just weeks after the US slapped 145% tariffs on Chinese imports, part of President Trump's so-called Liberation Day trade package. The move effectively derailed what had been a modest 2-month manufacturing recovery. The impact of the tariffs has been immediate, and it's sending shockwaves through China's export sector. Exporters had been rushing to ship goods before the tariff deadline, But that strategy has now hit a wall. Some estimates reportedly say that cargo shipments have dropped by as much as 60%. Experts believe a key component of the PMI, the New Export Orders Index, fell to its lowest level since 2012, excluding the pandemic years. It's a sign that demand from overseas markets is weak. And it's not just the factories that are feeling the heat. China's broader economy is losing some momentum too. The non-manufacturing PMI, which tracks activity in services and construction, dropped to 50.4 from 50.8 in March. Now that's still above 50, but it shows that growth is weakening. China's National Bureau of Statistics blamed the downturn on sharp changes in the external environment, a clear reference to the tariffs. So what is Beijing doing about this situation? The government has reportedly moved to support exporters with loans and stimulus measures, though no major new economic package has been unveiled. Instead, they're reportedly focusing on implementing measures already approved in early March, before the full impact of the tariffs were felt. It has also responded with 125% duties on imports from the US. However, economists remain cautious. The Chinese economy is facing headwinds, with GDP growth expected to be lower than official targets of 5% this year. But despite these struggles, China is not backing down on the diplomatic front. Beijing has rejected the idea of seeking talks with Washington as of now. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi earlier this month warned countries against caving into US tariff threats, saying that appeasement will only embolden the quote-unquote bully. So, as both Beijing and Washington dig in, it seems the trade war is far from over, and the global economy could be the one to pay the price. And shifting focus to the Philippines, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s government continues to expand the country's defense ties amid Chinese growing aggression in the region. In the latest, the Philippines signed a landmark defense pact with New Zealand. The agreement will allow the two nations to deploy troops on each other's soil, easing the military cooperation amid what Manila and Wellington see as shared security concerns in the Indo-Pacific. The key defense pact between the Philippines and New Zealand comes amid Wellington's frequent criticism of Beijing's aggressive actions in the South China Sea. New Zealand maintains Chinese actions in the Indo-Pacific destabilize the regional security, a sentiment widely accepted in Manila.
There is a pronounced aggressiveness of China's expansionist agenda here. I believe that is so because if we believe some of the literature, the expansionism of China is part and parcel of a plan for legitimizing, for President Xi Jinping to legitimize himself.
The Philippines and New Zealand also agreed to elevate their diplomatic ties to a comprehensive partnership starting next year. This partnership, according to an official statement, will reflect the shared interests of the two nations in maritime security, disaster response, as well as the regional stability. With this, the Philippines now has visiting forces agreement with 4 countries: the United States, Australia, Japan, and now New Zealand. In the face of frequent Chinese aggression in the West Philippine Sea, under President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., Manila has expanded its defense ties by tapping into both old and new partners. After signing defense pacts with Japan and now New Zealand, Manila aims to sign similar agreements with Canada as well as France. The Philippines is reportedly in the last stages of negotiations with Canada to finalize a visiting forces agreement. Manila is also in talks to establish a similar defense agreement with France. As the Philippines bolsters its security through defense pacts with the US, Australia, Japan, and New Zealand, Manila's message to Beijing is loud and clear. Its maritime aggression will not go unchallenged in the Indo-Pacific. And that's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to First Post.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on First Post.
Greeting you with aloha and namaste.
I love India.
Presence, occupation of a territory by another country pertains to India, what we saw in Kashmir.
The Prime Minister Modi.
How do you see Trump's America?
Yes, the current administration behaves differently from the previous administration.
Are you saying that there are foreign powers who are trying to bring down the current government in Syria?
Exactly.
Bluntly, Iran, maybe Russia too.
Prime Minister Modi committed to South-South, cooperation.
Not over 50%.
Is Ukraine prepared to pay the price for that peace?
No compromises at the cost of territorial integrity and sovereignty.